Motivations with Dan Stratton. It's great to have you on this morning, and it's been great over these last few months to begin to build an audience and get to know you. And really, my goal is to serve you and to remind you that you are important and that, developing good thought habits, developing good word habits, developing good habits going forward, the way you think really is really how it's going to affect your life and how it's going to affect the people you run with. And it's going to bless a lot of people. And so just start tuning in a little more often. And really the key to everything is dialogue. So ask questions, make comments, engage. It's really, really cool. Morning Motivations, Dan Stratton. It's great to have you on. It's great to have some of you. Some people have been coming up to me lately and just saying, hey, they caught it. They caught the 15 minutes that we were on and they really enjoyed it. And it really motivated them for that day. So today we're going to talk about making your setbacks your friends again. It's a second part of it. The beauty of the way that I work is I could talk on the same subject over and over and over again and hardly ever repeat myself. I mean, last time we walked through a business, a strategic tool that we called the SWOT, SWOT, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And this week I want to talk about some principles that are very powerful in the sense of understanding when you get hit with a piece of negative information. Your measurements come in and you haven't met your goals, you haven't met your sales goals, you haven't met your output goals, you haven't met any of your goals. What do you do? How do you overcome that disappointment? How do you overcome that discouragement? How do you make the adjustments that are necessary? I think the important part, the first thing you got to know is that setbacks are coming. So if you make setbacks your enemy, what happens is you have a tendency to quit. You have a tendency to lose energy. You have a tendency to begin to disqualify yourself, and you never, ever want to do that. So that's why I say you got to make setbacks your friend. You got to learn through setbacks. What am I missing? Am I lacking a team member? What's out there? I use a tool. I call it the 5 questions. What would I do if I knew I wouldn't fail? And that makes me think forward right away. And then my second one, which is what comes into this topic about setbacks, is what are my obstacles? One of my main obstacles, maybe one of yours as well, is how do I deal with bad information? How do I deal with setbacks? How do I deal with somebody on my team saying they're going to get something done and then they don't get it done, won't get it done, don't want to get it done for whatever reason, right? So I can dwell on that. I can blame and I can make it worse. I can magnify it. I can just blow it up, or I can pivot. I can make a quick adjustment. I have a rule. It's a simple thought, I call it. And that's the concept of don't ever pay for things twice. Don't pay for things twice. If I got to do a certain amount of work, do the work, but don't pay for it twice by doing the work angry or doing the work frustrated. Just take a step back, take a deep breath, get relaxed again, and then just do the work. And the work has to get done. And that comes back to a teammate or somebody who's supposed to deliver either a service or a product or something, some work that needs to be done at that moment. If they don't get it done, and if I got to now do it, if I got to jump in and do that work, I'm not going to pay for it twice. I'm not going to spend half an hour or 45 minutes on the phone being upset about somebody that didn't deliver or something that didn't go right, right? So I'm going to pivot. I'm going to find a workable solution, and then I'm going to execute because the work still has to get done. So the other concept that comes in when you're thinking about setbacks, and you have to realize that the first one I wanted you to get is that they're coming. Setbacks are coming. And in business, there's a rule of thumb. Everything always takes longer than what you think it's going to take. And in some cases, that could be years. How do we pull the team together? How do we raise the finances? How do we position ourselves in the market? Those things seem like simple questions that we can ask off the top of a discussion, but building a team that can execute on a big project could take years, could take 3, 4, 5 years to really build the team. How do we raise the finances? How do we put the capital deck together so that it works at every juncture in making cash available in different ways, different characteristics, different personalities of that cash? I mean, how do we access it? Not all cash is accessed the same way, you know, and so that's very important. And so you always remind yourself that, one, setbacks are coming. Two, things are going to take longer than you think, and then you sit back on your simple thought and you say, I'm not paying for this twice. I'm going to do the work, I'm going to get the task done, and then I'm going to execute. And as we remember these things, and as we approach a kick in the stomach or a disappointment, or somebody said something out in the marketplace that you've got to repair, something shows up on your Google search, all these things can get frustrated. And then you've got to go back to question number one: what would I do if I knew I wouldn't fail? Am I really committed? Am I really committed to reaching that goal? Am I committed to saving a certain amount of money? Am I committed to creating a team that can produce this product or service? Am I committed to losing weight? Am I committed to learning a language? What am I committed to? And then move forward. Because if you're not truly committed, if you haven't made an established, strong decision, of course you're going to quit. It's just not important enough to you to keep moving. So that brings us to the third question in the 5 questions, which is, what's my next smallest doable step? Because you got to have that discipline of approaching a setback with a protocol or a process or a procedure. So a lot of times when you get a setback, you're overwhelmed. Like, oh no, now what am I going to do? Oh no, how am I going to overcome this new set of circumstances that I did not anticipate? Right? So you say, okay, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time, right? So it's like, what can I do today to start the process moving forward? So this comes back to, don't pay for things twice. So your natural tendency is to call the person who made the mistake, or somehow vent and scream and break things, whatever you got to do when that setback, that unexpected setback comes. Is that going to take you in the right direction? So okay, I've got to sit back and I've got to inventory my situation. Where am I now? What do I do now? What can I do today that takes me forward? And then, just as you've practiced by saying setbacks are going to come, just as you've practiced by meditating on, clearly things take longer than I expect them to take. Once you've practiced now the whole idea of, I'm not going to pay for it twice, the decision that you're going to make is not going to be a decision that's going to be emotional. You're not going to make a phone call to beat somebody up, which is going to totally affect their ability to perform that day, at least, if not for the rest of the time you're in relationship. So you just go to the basics. You go back to objectivity. You go to your goals, which is to say, all right, really, what am I trying to accomplish here? What am I really trying to get done? And am I truly committed to it? People who succeed, they're working on things that they're committed to. They're not working on things that they don't care about. They're not working on things that they don't think are important. So whatever it is you're working on, you need to make it important. A lot of times when I mentor people, I've got to say things to them like I'm saying to you right now. I say, remember, whatever we start to do, always remember that this project, this goal is kind of like going to the gym. It's like exercise. It's not really about this project. It's not really about this goal. It's about your development. It's about you becoming stronger. It's about you becoming wiser. It's about you becoming a better problem solver, a better leader, a better decision maker, a better father, a better husband, a better son, right? All these different things. So as we work through these things, now you can hear all these principles and they all begin to balance each other. They all begin to balance each other. Setbacks are coming. As an old commodities trader, I never went a whole day without having a losing trade, right? So losing trades happen. But at the end of the day, for the most part, I would have winning days with losing trades. And so that's life. That's how life works. I mean, that's a microcosm of life. If I made 300 trades in a day and 25 of those trades were bad, that's a really good day. That's a really good day, especially if I made those 25 bad trades. If I minimize those 25 bad trades, that means I had 275 good trades, even if some of those good trades were small, even if they were just for a pip or two. But over time, if you start to develop the thinking process of bad trades are coming, I'm not going to dwell on bad trades. They're part of the equation. Setbacks are coming. I'm not going to think about setbacks longer than I need to, and then I'm going to move forward. Great athletes, great performers in all areas, if they make a mistake, they know that in order to perform at a high level, they've got to be looking forward. They've got to be, looking to the next decision, the next opportunity to perform, right? I was a wide receiver in college. I was a quarterback in high school and even as a freshman in college. And so you have to learn these things when you play football in particular. You got to, and especially a skill play, when you have to execute and throw a ball or execute and catch a ball in traffic, whatever, sometimes, stuff doesn't work out. Your basics aren't there, and you're on the wrong foot when you throw the ball, or you look away when you're supposed to be catching a ball. Now you don't look it all the way into your hands. Those things you can control for, but sometimes there's things you can't control for. I mean, there's a defense out there, and there's all these other things, and so you have to learn. Same thing in trading. There's other traders. There's competition. Same thing in your life. There's a marketplace. You're setting goals, but so is a lot of other people. So the more you understand that, you're in a place where you're developing yourself, you're going to learn to love setbacks as long as you use them to learn. You have to listen to your inner voices as you approach these setbacks. How do I think when I get bad news? How do I react when I get bad news? Do I step back, get objective, and make 10 good decisions in a row? Or do I overreact and make 10 bad decisions in a row and exacerbate the setback? Do I make the setback worse on a regular basis? Or do I minimize the emotion, minimize the things that I can't control for, and then move forward? So this is a lot of teaching in a short 15-minute segment here. So I want you to begin to interact on this. And the way that you would interact is that you would begin, especially the next time that you have a setback, get a book out, get a book of paper out, like a little journal book, and begin to think about how you think about bad news. Think about how you think about setbacks. Today, I'm sure I'm going to have a couple of things that are going to go wrong, but that's like every day in my life. Some bad news comes to me, some good news comes to me, new information comes to me, things come up. I get reports from people I'm working with, people I love across the world, whether it's in Cuba or in the prisons, whether it's at my church in New York, whether it's in the companies that I'm working for. People are dealing with problems. But if I'm counted on to solve those problems or to find the supply or to meet those needs, then I've got to have a protocol and a process for setbacks, because I'm not just dealing with my setbacks. I'm dealing with my daughter's setbacks, my son-in-law's setbacks, my mom's setbacks, and so are you. So are you. And if you're watching this, you're probably the caregiver. You're probably the problem solver in your circle. So this short 15 minutes is just my way of saying to you, let's dialogue, let's communicate, let's go back and forth. We're only as strong as the team we build. We're only as strong as the resources we gather. So let's get strong together. I'll be a resource to you, and you'll be a resource to me, and we'll start to solve problems together. I always say the answer to every question is a person. I also say relationships are more important than transactions. And then finally, I'll close with this, which I've already said today. Always remember the goal that you're working on, the job that you have, the project that you've chosen is not as important as your development. Those things were given to you for you. You weren't born to build a building. You weren't born even to raise a child. You were born to become a great problem solver, and that'll help you raise a child. It'll help you build a building. God bless you. I hope you're having an amazing day, and I hope this teaching helped you today. But if you take anything away from this, it's you have to engage with problem solvers. You have to engage with people that can help. And there's just not that many people around that are going to make themselves available. So God bless you, and I hope to hear from you soon. Have an amazing day. This is Dan Stratton signing out. Morning Motivations with Dan Stratton.